this episode of Rock Down South, we sit down with the rock band Two Shadows. We have a great time on this episode, so you definitely don't want to miss this one. We hope you all enjoy. Let's go.
Hi, this is Glenn from Two Shadows, and you're listening to Rock Down South.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Rock Down South, your home for rock and country music. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Glen Bridden from the hard rock and heavy metal band Two Shadows. And this band is probably one of my favorite new bands out there right now. They produce some really great music that is both super catchy and super heavy. And they also have this totally out there, over-the-top theatrical performance that they have and brand image. Glenn may look like a scary guy in his music videos, but he's actually a really awesome and nice guy once you sit down and talk with them. So we had a really great time on this one. And we talk all about how the band started and their brand new single, Marionette, that they released with the Veer Union. So without further ado, here's the show. What's up, Glenn? How you doing today, man?
Hey, I'm doing really good, Mark. How are you?
Hey, I'm fantastic. Really glad to speak to you today. Talking music, Two Shadows, heavy metal, and the new single, man. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you so much for having me on. Absolutely my pleasure.
Yeah. So let's just jump right into it. I think you guys are from the Vancouver area, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That is correct. And funny, because 12 hours ago, I was in Vancouver, Washington, which is hilarious. Like literally cross the Canadian border, and you're right back in Vancouver. It's quite something. But yeah, Vancouver, West Coast. Not exactly living on the beach. It's city vibes, but the beaches are pretty cool. So no complaints here.
Okay. Is that where you guys are from, you and Trist?
Great question. Kind of. It's oddly complicated. We're sort of, well, we lived in Vancouver for a long time. Like when we got the band going, that all happened in Vancouver. But originally, he's from Fort St. John, which is he always describes it as, quote unquote, a redneck town in the way north end of BC. But it's actually some kind of like 20 hours north of Vancouver if you drive, I'm pretty sure, which don't recommend. Long, although pretty beautiful drive in all fairness. And then I'm from Vancouver Island, which is just across the strait on an island. It's a pretty big island. It doesn't really have island vibes, but you do need a boat to get there. And then now Tris is living in Langley, which is like, maybe 45 minutes outside of Vancouver. The whole band is in like all different cities. So getting ready for tour is the most complicated process ever and involves so much driving, rounding everyone up. But it's all part of it,
That's hilarious. You came from an island. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I don't know. It is an island. That is 100% true.
You could drive to it, right?
You cannot drive to it. You can drive on a boat, and then you drive off the boat when you get to the island.
Oh, it's one of those. You actually got to take the ferry over.
That's exactly right. The iconic BC ferries, and they're moving a lot of people around these days. The island, it's pretty big. There's Victoria is down there, which is actually the capital of BC. Victoria is gorgeous city. And then I'm from Nanaimo, which is kind of like where the boat lands, really, usually. So you can take the boat to Nanaimo or Victoria are kind of the two main spots. And there's like one other main spot called Tofino, which is like just this surf town that's crazy. There's some really incredible surfing there because you're right on the actual Pacific Ocean, and like that's the real deal. So it's kind of cold because it's pretty north, but the waves are really rad, and I'm dying to go back. I haven't surfed there actually since I was like a teenager, which is crazy. But I'll make it back.
That's wild. This is my ignorance, just being a southerner down here in Georgia. I didn't know that people surfed up in Canada. It's crazy.
You need a wetsuit for sure. But no, not a lot of people know that. It's because we were just doing all this touring in the States, and that's like one of the best trivia pieces ever. It's like, yeah, I grew up on an island. It's like sounds way crazier than it actually is. And actually, funny enough too. I mean, if you've heard of the band Spirit Box, they're from Victoria, which is also on the island. Which is funny. I thought I'd heard them dropping that same bit of trivia. I'm just like, hell yeah, my island people, let's go.
That's awesome, man. And so the band started, I think, in 2015, right? Tell me about how the band came together.
Yeah, so it's a fun story, which I know it well. I was not there at the very beginning, but Trist started the band. He's been doing bands a long time. He's got some crazy origin stories about like, you know, like hiding his guitars and playing when he was like a kid. He like got like Christmas presents and then sold them to buy like his first guitar and all this craziness. So he's done bands forever. And then he moved out of his, well, Fort St. John, his hometown, to Vancouver to try to like, I mean, if you know, you want to make it bigger in pop culture, you kind of got to go to the melting pot where all the people are. And in terms of Western Canada, it's Vancouver. That's the only option really. So he met up with this other fella who had essentially the like Two Shadows kind of demo, like it was sort of starting, and then Trist worked with him and they built the band in 2015 into sort of the first version of Two Shadows. And then I think like the like one thing that me and Trist really have in common is we like take it pretty seriously. So there's been a lot of musicians that have come into the band and like they get just like absolutely burned out, or they can't keep up or whatever. It's always different, you know, it's life. But there used to be 5 Shadows, and now there are 2 Shadows. It's just me and Trist now. But yeah, it's been trucking along for a while, but we kind of only just recently, I think, hit our stride, like, you know, a year or 2 ago, or sort of just before the pandemic, I guess, which was ultimate buzzkill. We did Scratching at the Surface, and it like charted on Billboard, and we were like, oh my god, it's finally happening. And then it was just like, all right, now let's just take a, you know, a nice 1.5 year break, everyone. So it's like, oh, cool. But we're back, and it's still awesome, and it's just living the dream out here, and not the sarcastic day job way. It is literally the dream that we are living. So we're pretty stoked.
That's incredible. But it sounds like you guys were serious about this stuff from the very beginning or early on, and maybe some other people weren't. But when do you feel like you got serious about it or thought this was going to be a reality? Was that your mindset, like just going straight into it, or did that develop over time where you're like, I think this is going to be like the thing that we're doing?
I think it was like pretty immediate. It was kind of a special moment as well, because I was living in Calgary, Alberta at the time. I was there for 8 years, and then kind of like through a friend of a friend of a friend, Trist hit me up to fill in on bass for a Two Shadows tour. This was in 2018, and I had like just started doing bands in Calgary, and I'd really fallen in love with like doing bands and like shows and just that whole kind of industry thing, and it was like totally new to me at the time. And then like none of the people I knew were like down to like take it seriously, so I was just kind of like spinning my wheels, like, come on, like trying to get something going, and it was like not really happening. And then I was between bands at the time, and then when I worked with Two Shadows for that month long, it was a cross Canada tour, and then like Tristan and I just had this like immediate connection where like he had that same serious that I like have, and we like saw that in each other right away. And then that kind of like, honestly, like long story short, after the tour, I like literally threw everything I could fit in my car and then like quit my job and bailed and moved down to Vancouver and joined Two Shadows like right after the tour was done. And I've been here ever since doing Two Shadows, and it's like finally started to move, and now Tristan and I don't even have day jobs, which is crazy. So it's, you know, a lot of luck, honestly, but it was a pretty magical thing, like us meeting up at that time, because we were just so like, you know, we were so like hungry, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. That's a great story, man. So you guys were pretty serious about this from the very early on, but I guess it also goes in hand with like, you know, you look around with the group that you have, the music that you're putting together, and you realize, all right, this is worthwhile being serious for. You don't want to just be that music dude who just gets serious about everything, even when your stuff isn't any good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's definitely, don't want to wake up and realize that, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, there's like being serious about it is almost like it's more complicated than that in a funny way, because like it's definitely not the easiest like path to choose to go down. And like, you know, a lot happens and it's very unorthodox, and it's like very difficult for people that are close to you to like relate and like really understand what you're doing, because like you have to have so much output, and it's so crazy, it's so high risk, like blah blah blah. So you definitely need to like enjoy the ride, if you know what I mean. Like you can't be like serious and then like want that, you know, #1 song, or want that super crazy tour or whatever. Like you really do need to enjoy like all of it, like all the like stuff that sucks and the stuff that's awesome, because a lot of the job is like sitting around on like a laptop, just like, oh man, like how are we gonna figure this one out? And it's a lot of work, and then you know the payoff is like just like that one, you know, that one show, or like, you know, when you get that reaction of that one song. So it's definitely, you got to really enjoy the ride for sure. And luckily both Tris and I really do enjoy the ride. We love all of it, so I think that makes it a lot easier to be serious, and it kind of like, it doesn't, you don't get as jaded. I think that there's a lot of musicians that, you know, they shoot their shot and it is just so rough and they just burn out, and like I've seen it, and it sucks. It's not for everyone, but like if it is for you, it's just such a cool thing. So I'm super grateful to be here, really.
That's cool. Yeah, my hat's off to, you know, musicians and touring musicians. I couldn't do it. You know, I've never been on an actual tour, but you know, after listening to enough of it, I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I could handle the day in and day outs of everything. So you know, you kind of have to be built for it.
In a way, it is bizarre. Like I can definitely say touring like is a strange lifestyle, but it is like it's pretty cool. And there's a lot of awesome perks, like all the traveling. Like we just did this tour in the Midwest, and I went to like all these places I've never been before, met all these super rad people, and like just, you know, you get like all of that like culture piece that you wouldn't really get, like, and you don't really get it as like a tourist either, because it's like, you know, when you go in, you're at like some venue in the middle of town, and like, you know, all the people you meet, this is their everyday thing, and like, you know, a lot of the time they're just different people, and it's super rad, and like it's a pretty special thing. So it's pretty amazing in that way, touring. But like, oh my goodness, you better be good at managing your energy levels, because there's a lot that happens.
So let's jump in here and talk about the band's sound, because I really like it. And
Oh, thank
it's
you.
definitely heavy metal. It's got some screams. I do like the catchy choruses though that you guys have in there. It's that
Oh,
cool
thank you. Same.
dynamic. Um, but how'd you guys decide what your sound was, or how'd that come together? Was that organic, or you know, did you guys, you know, how'd that come about?
Oh, good question. I mean, a lot of it, I think, is us trying not to be so like ADD that we have like every single sound. We try to narrow it down to like, you know, a few things that we can keep consistent. Like, there's some singing, there's some screaming, you know, we love a good breakdown, you know, we love our electronics. Like it took a while to hone that in, but the sound honestly is literally, I would say, derived from just Trist and I's favorite bands and favorite songs. Like a lot of the time, like when we're in like writing mode, kind of like we'll just like put on music all the time, and we just show each other a lot of music, like, yo, check this out, I just heard this song, isn't this rad? And it'll be like, wow, that's so cool. And then like I can't necessarily speak for Tris, but like when I go in and I'm doing like a Two Shadows song, like I like won't listen to any music, and I won't think of anything or compare to anything. Like I kind of try to go like all off of feel, because I'm
Hmm.
really passionate about it sounding like kind of just like authentic and original. Like I don't really want to like write a song that's like this other song. And even in the genre, like, you know, we're kind of in the metalcore basket in a lot of ways, and a lot of the music does sound pretty similar, but like that's kind of, I like to just hit it fresh, and we just like what we like, and we're pretty shameless about it. So if we like how something sounds, we're just like, yep, put it in, let's go. And then luckily we have our label team, and they can really help us kind of iron out the kinks, and they're really great at some of the detailing, and like, you know, they'll move like a snare hit over like a bar, and it'll just like have this new vibe, and it's pretty cool. There's a lot that happens. It's hard to explain, but it's that, you know, the magic of writing songs, I guess. I don't know. But it's I'd say it's more on the organic side. Like we don't really like aspire to be anything in specific. We just kind of just like experimenting, and you know, we like lately we've been really into a lot of like industrial music, and like the new song Marionette's got like a, for us, like a lot more of an industrial flavor to it, in my opinion anyway.
Yeah, yeah. And I definitely want to talk about Marionette here in a second after we talk about your sound. But about your sound, one of the things I think stood out to me is just how dark it was, man. You guys go pretty dark with your music, and you know, it's not to say that you don't have happier moments in other songs like Devil's Target, or you know, your cover of Boulevard of Broken Dreams, or even Marionette, the new one. But you guys are get pretty dark, and especially with your music videos, you guys, those are really professionally well done, and yeah, they get a little bit dark in those.
Yeah, I don't know. I love that stuff, like that whole aesthetic, that vibe. I'm obsessed with it. I just love it so much, and I'm always kind of like chasing it in one way or another. And it's funny because before Two Shadows and the other bands I was in, when I would write stuff, everybody would always be like, "Oh my God, like it's so dark. Like why?" Like that, like, and it'd just be like this dreaded thing. So I just felt so guilty all the time, like writing all this like dark material or whatever. And I'd just be like, "Oh my goodness, like I'm doing it again." And then and then like when I started working with Tristan Two Shadows, that like was the vibe. And I was just like, "Oh man, like finally, like I felt like I found my home in that way, so I can just go to town and make it as dark as I want, and it's like rocks and everyone loves it." So I'm just all smiles,
So that stuff naturally just comes easy for you to write, the dark stuff like that.
Yeah, I just love the aesthetic, like the vibe. I don't know. I just
Yeah.
think it's like super cool, and the music that I listen to, I like music that has that. Like my favorite band is a band called Opeth, and they're pretty dark, and like kind of weird, and that's like just I don't know, it's what I'm into. I couldn't explain it, but when we write that stuff, I'm just like, oh yeah, that's it. That's my choice of my favorite whatever is the dark one. So here we are.
Have you written some pretty just complete happy songs? Or those
I
come very difficult?
I've tried and they're all terrible. They suck. It's not good. I've got a lot of like even like just these random like scratch demos and stuff that like are not used that are like even darker. They're like almost too dark even for Two Shadows. So it's like I think I've found the pocket where I have my stride, and it's like everybody can. It's so dark but not too dark, or like the right amount of dark, But we'll see. We'll see what the future holds. I'm pretty loose with it. I just kind of throw in whatever and then see what the reaction is in the room when we're writing the song, and usually Tris is quite quick to react to stuff. He'll know instantly if he likes it or not, or like his whole opinion is like lightning, which is pretty amazing to have when we're on the clock. So I'm grateful for that.
So let's talk about the brand new single that you guys have out right now called Marionette. I know you all did this one with the Veer Union, but tell me about this song, man. I was listening to it and I like this one.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, man. This was a cool song to make. We did just before this, we did Fading for Misery, and that was like probably the hardest song to make ever. And then this one is the second easiest song. There's one other song that's not out that was the easiest song to make ever, but maybe this one was the most fun, I think, Marionette, because we wrote the first version of this in I don't even know, like 2019 or 2020. And it was this demo that like there's some things that survived from that demo, and then it like we thought it was bad, so we like shelved it, and then we brought it back out maybe like a year ago or 2 years ago, and then like redid the song, and then we like still thought it was bad and we shelved it again, and then we just brought it out not even that long ago. Like we probably like souped up like the current version of Marionette like I don't know, like 6-7 months ago. And that time it just all clicked, and we were like, oh yeah, this rocks. This is exactly what we want the song to sound like third time's the charm, I guess. And then what made it even cooler was so we work with our label that we're on, Rock Shop Records, is with the Veer Union also, and we do a lot of work with them, and they're super rad, and like we work with them all the time. So like we did Scratching at the Surface with them, and then it's just kind of special because they're so involved in the whole Two Shadows process. So to like have them on a track is just like like feels so right, if you know what I mean. So we were in talks with them, and then like Crispin had a lot of like really great ideas, especially in like the chorus of Marionette. Like he added a lot of awesome stuff, and it was just like dudes, like you got to be on the song, So that was kind of how that happened, and it was just like super special, like fun evolution of a song. Like sometimes you do a song and you just like sit down one time and it's done and that's it, and then other times like Marionette, it was like several years in the making, and like couldn't be happier with how it turned out. It's super fun, so fun to play live too.
Yeah, and you have a music video out for that one as well, which I enjoyed watching. And it gets kind of hard as a listener sometimes, or at least for me, with songs that have a lot going on and two different people singing. I like the way you guys did this music video, so I could tell like who was singing at what time.
Yeah, totally. The vocal arrangement was like pretty wild, but pretty exciting, kind of different sounding, which is I think why we liked it. But yeah, that definitely helps in the video. You get the live switch of who's actually doing what, because it is busy in that way. But It was cool. It was our first green screen video we ever did, which was pretty neat. Very different because usually we have in a lot of the other videos, as you've seen, like all these like stage props and there's like junk laying around and we're like climbing on stuff or whatever. So that one was a little bit different because we're just kind of like, standing stationary, and then all of the action happens in post in the editing. So it was a little different for us, but it's cool. It was nice to do, and like, fun experience. We couldn't not do it. It was like the green screen was there, and it was like, well, let's shoot our shot, see how we do. And I think the video turned out pretty cool. So
Yeah, and so you have this single out right now. I know you just put out an album in 2022. Is it too early to ask whether there's new music coming down the pipe, or an EP or anything like that?
I mean, well, I don't have enough information to say anything super exciting, but I can say that Tristan and I have some time off, and we're pretty keen to like do some songs. Like we've been pretty much touring for the last like 3 months, and I mean, like especially the Cold Inside songs, like the album from 2022. Like we've played those songs to death, and like we've just recently started doing like headliner shows. And like some of these like shows will ask us to play for like an hour, and it's like, oh bro, like we have 6 songs, like, oh man. So that's definitely been on our minds to get some more songs out there. And so far so good with the 2 that have come out so far, but we're definitely, that's on our minds, is to get some new music in. So that's the plan. That's my plan anyway. When will
Okay.
it come out? Couldn't tell you. Will we be writing songs? Yes, I can say that.
No, it's I try not to ask that question when people just put out an album recently, but it was your first album. There was only like 7 songs on it. I think one was an
Yeah, the
acoustic.
acoustic.
So I was like, yeah, they might have something coming out here in a little bit. Who knows?
Yeah,
So
it's also like the 2023 thing. Like you got to be putting out songs like all the time. Like it's the age of the single, So
yeah.
definitely something on our minds, and we're trying to keep up, but it will be a bit easier now. I think that we're a little bit less busy in general. We're kind of taking it down for the season, so definitely going to hit the studio.
So I have a random question I read. Is it true you incorporated the sound of a beer can opening in your recordings?
Yes, that is true. That's hilarious. I've never been asked about that, but we're I'll ask you where you wrote it afterwards. But that is true. That was it's in Screamwork, and it's in the bridge, like right after the second chorus. It goes into this like, well, it goes into a breakdown, but like right before the breakdown, there's this kind of industrial beat section, and there's all these like clanky sounds that come in. And me and one of the old members of Two Shadows were like hanging out at his house, and we were like designing that part and like just finding all these sounds, and we were looking for like the right kind of like kind of sound. And I was just like oh, we were like drinking a few beers, and I was like, oh my god, dude, like we should record opening a beer can. I just thought it'd be so funny. And then that happened. It took a few beer cracks to get it right. But we yeah, so that's in there. It's so processed, like I probably wouldn't even be able to find it now, but one of those sounds is the sound of a beer can opening. It's so silly, but like that's all in the fun of like making songs, honestly, is just random things like that. It's just, I don't know, I think that's hilarious. So in it goes.
Was this like a slow open, or was this a real quick? What was that open that you were going for, if you can remember?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It took a few attempts. There was a few cans that we went through to get it right. But the sound that we wanted it's like, I can make the sound with my mouth right now, like or kind of like that, like a not like the like there's like the click one, like not the click. We didn't want the click, like that single full motion of essentially like the air escaping. That was like what we like were really after there. Coincidentally, purely coincidence that it was with a beer can.
Now, did you open up one, then drink it, and then try again, or did you go back to back and have some open beers?
Oh, I mean, that's what I'm saying, Mark. You got to drink it once it's open.
That's funny. That's funny. So these next questions are what we close with and ask everyone. So first question.
Okay. Oh boy. All right. I'm ready.
What would you tell your 21-year-old self?
Oh God. Smarten up. I think that's it. I'm not sure. I'd shake my head. I'd be like, oh, geez, you know, keep it together, keep on going, don't slow down. That'll be my statement.
All right, next question. What are you drinking lately? And if you don't drink alcohol, it could be anything refreshing you like to drink. But considering you
Oh,
just said you popped open several beers doing a recording, I can assume you drink still.
here we are. Yes. Well, my cop out answer is water because I do drink a obscene amount of water on tour as a singer. That's just the natural way it goes. But my drink of choice lately, I've been into White Claw town. Like the claw is the law, they say. And I hadn't had one ever until like probably 1 year ago. And then like this friend of mine was just like, "Hey, you haven't had a White Claw? You gotta try one of these." I was like, "I don't want a White Claw. What are you talking about?" And then I tried it and I was like, "Oh, it's actually so good." And I like them because they're less bloaty than beer. So on tour, it's way nicer because if like even kind of before stage, I mean, with the vocals in Two Shadows is like pretty dense. So I need to make sure I'm like, feeling really good. And if I have like a beer or two beers before stage and I'm feeling kind of like bloaty in my stomach, it's just like, no, bad time. So the claws are nice just because they're so much lighter. It's just like it works. It works for me, and like hardly anyone else in the band drinks them, so they stay away from my stash, which I love.
I love White Claws. I was drinking some the other night. That and I think my new favorite now is the High Noons. Do you guys have those?
Oh, I don't know. I don't see those around ever actually. But I
Okay.
had a question for you, Mark. What's your favorite White Claw flavor?
Man, White Claw. I mean, probably lime or black cherry. I'm pretty simple on that. Um,
I was just at the last show we played, and I was asking the bartender, and she said those are the two most controversial flavors. And I became aware of that because we played a show in oh my goodness, I can't even Columbus. And I got a lime White Claw, like I got one at the bar, and like the whole lineup was like, "What? Oh, you got the lime? Like, really?" And like they had this reaction, and I was like, "What?" Like, "Oh my God!" Like I had no idea. Then I was like, I asked the bartender, I was like, "What's going on right now?" And then she's like, "Oh, that's the natural lime. You love it or you hate it. It's a controversial claw flavor." I was like, "Huh?" But it was my favorite, and now I'm like insecure about it. But my favorite maybe is still lime or
yeah,
pineapple. I don't know.
yeah, White Claw is good, but definitely try High Noons because the difference with High Noon is that it's made with actual vodka and actual fruit juice, and so there's some really good flavors like pineapple and a bunch of other. They have lime and stuff, but they have a bunch of
Oh,
flavors. But it's made with actual, real alcohol, vodka
oh wow,
and juice, and it's pretty tasty. And
that sounds good.
they kind of changed the game. Now everybody's doing stuff with like vodka or tequila in it. And so even White Claw now has a line that has actual vodka and I think juice in it.
Oh, really?
But try the High Noons. They're a
Interesting.
little bit more expensive, but everybody's drinking them these days.
Oh God, more expensive than White Claw. Uh-oh.
They're a little bit
Yeah,
more
I will try one
expensive,
of those.
but they're good.
I'll check it out. That's cool. My curiosity is piqued.
And so as you know, this is Rock Down South. So what is something, or maybe a couple things that come to mind that you love about the South? And I assume that you maybe have visited the southern United States here at some point in your touring, but maybe not.
Yes, I have. I went down in 20 oh no, this is like 1 year ago. This is like last year. This is the first US tour that we ever did ever, and we managed to swoop down. Like we did like California, and then we went off into like Texas and stuff, and then went north to like around the central. But we got a good experience of some of the South stuff. One of the craziest things that I thought about the South was when you get a hamburger and they ask you how you want your beef cooked. That is like the craziest thing ever up here in Canada because you always have to fully cook it. Like getting like medium rare beef was like, huh? Which I did not have the courage to do that time, but maybe next time we'll see. But the meats definitely, and the amount of barbecues that I saw was incredible, and I love that. And I think that I don't even know how I could explain this properly. This is a complex idea or thought in my mind, but the people have a vibe in the South. Like they're so like hype. They have like this like positive energy, and they're just like stoked about like all kinds of stuff. And I just love seeing that so much. Especially there's a lot going on in the world today, and just going somewhere that like people can just be like like energetic and positive and like hype about things, and like just I don't know, it's just fun. It's just so fun. Like Texas, that whole run that we did in that whole area and even around Texas was like just so incredibly memorable, just because like everybody was just so funny and like so energetic and positive, and like really made a strong impression on everybody in Two Shadows, big time, and lived up to the reputation as well. Everything is larger in that area. And it's really cool, and we've been trying to go back ever since, and we've been on the cusp of booking stuff like all year this year, and we never actually made it back down to the south, which is crazy. So that's definitely overdue, and I'm so excited to go back, because it's just such a different vibe than, especially in Canada all the time, different everything, it was so cool. So absolutely loved it down there.
Hopefully we can get you to Atlanta sometime soon.
Yes, I would love that. I would love that so much. That was, oh my goodness, on the last tour that we did, we almost made it down specifically to Atlanta, and then it ended up not working out that way, which was very sad. But that's definitely like on our minds to get down there as soon as possible. So fingers crossed.
Well, thank you so much, Glenn, for being a part of the show today. Where can people find and connect with you online?
Well, we're doing the Instagram, Facebook, TikTok is a big one for us as well. And then we just launched our Patreon recently. There's our social medias are kind of chaotic and crazy right now, and our Patreon is a cool one, because we do like behind the scenes of like whatever, like we just film us doing whatever we're doing, throw it on Patreon, and we get a little chatty in the comments. That's the best place to reach us. But if you want to see what's going on, definitely follow Two Shadows Official on Instagram, same for Facebook, and also the same for TikTok. Nice and easy.
All right, everybody, go listen to the new single Marionette from Two Shadows and the Veer Union. Thank you so much for listening to the show today. We hope y'all enjoyed this episode. I had an absolute blast talking with Glenn. This is a really fun one, and I can't wait to hear more music from the band and see a live show from Two Shadows here in the future. So make sure to go follow Glenn and Two Shadows on all of their social media pages and check out their latest single titled Marionette that they made with the Veer Union. You can find all our content at rockdownsouth.com, and make sure to go follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter for the latest updates. Leave us a 5-star review if you can. We would really appreciate it. And as always, the views and opinions expressed by our guests are theirs and don't necessarily reflect our own. I'm Mark, and you've been listening to Rock Down South. See y'all next time.